All right, team, welcome back to After Hours. We are going to have an amazing show today. We're going to be covering a topic with our featured story at the end of the show today, XRP versus Bitcoin maxis. Each argument sort of explained. I really wanted to go in depth, but I held back as I don't think it is reasonable for a 21-minute show. And also, too, I don't think it's necessary for the current conversations we should be having about a strategic Bitcoin or a strategic crypto reserve. So we'll get into that at the end of the show, but we have a couple of things to discuss because we haven't seen you guys in a while. Trump executive order on crypto. We're going to get all into that. Planning to make the U.S. the crypto capital of the planet. That's a big statement right there. We're also going to discuss the Trump meme problem, and this will be good pretext to our featured story at the end, like I said, with the XRP versus Bitcoin maxi arguments. Maddie, we've seen a sell-off this morning in crypto, and it was kind of like this over the weekend in the markets. What are you seeing this morning in the crypto markets?
Yeah, it's been wildly volatile for crypto as well, and obviously we didn't really know exactly what the S&P and the Nasdaq were going to do. When I was up at like 4 o'clock this morning, I probably should have just not picked up my phone because I would have gone right back to bed. But I looked at my phone and then I was up. But we saw there's obviously a lot of speculation, but the Chinese company DeepSeek launched an AI platform and basically said that they could do what OpenAI does with a $5 million budget versus the billions of dollars that OpenAI spent. And with less technology and less hardware, get into that another time. There's a lot of technicals behind it if you guys are not like versed in pricing for GPUs and all these different things. Like just put in perspective, like the 45 gig GPUs that they use for the Sphere in Las Vegas, they use like 150 of those, and those run like $8,000 each per GPU. The ones that they use at Tesla for the super learning are like 16 to 30,000 per GPU. They use thousands of those. OpenAI is currently using hundreds of thousands of GPUs that cost 20 to 60,000 each. They're going to be moving into GPUs that cost upwards of 70 to 90,000 per GPU. They'll be running hundreds of thousands of those. So a lot of people are speculating these numbers are cooked from DeepSeek, and a lot of it's really just them trying to manipulate the markets a little bit. We'll see what ends up happening with that. I think this was a very weird flash in the pan narrative, but we've seen a little bit of recovery here. So the markets are still down today, but right now at the time of recording, Nasdaq's down like 700 points. We were down over 1,000 points earlier today. We saw some altcoins down like heavy double digits as we saw a big pop in Bitcoin dominance. There was just a lot of volatility. So I was just kind of like watching the charts to pull up on like some small time frames just to kind of see what was happening. We saw some of that buy volume get swallowed up. I had a feeling that those down candles weren't going to stay down once we kind of saw the narrative set in, but let's give it a couple days to breathe out. I'm going to have a feeling that a lot of this sell volume is going to get bought up. Even if we're not quite ready for a full breakout yet, there's a good chance that a lot of this like down day candle is going to get absorbed over the next several days.
The sell volume is going to get bought up by me. I'm absolutely going to be deploying more capital, going into Casper, going into API3. Great buys right now. XRP coming below $3 right now. Still not a buy for me, but hey, you do your own thing. Your investing is your own deal. I'm going to buy in value zones that I see that are on the table right now according to my portfolio. And team, if you need help with your portfolio, your crypto portfolio, I suggest CryptoCharge. Check us out, cryptocharge.com. Click the pin link down below. Use code YouTube when signing up, and you'll have access to our daily shows, the tools on the website. You'll have access to our community. It's very active. Maddie's out here planning events. Team, you'll definitely want to be a part of that. Maddie, are you charging? Do they have to show their CryptoCharge membership when they show up to the event?
No, we won't require that, and you can definitely bring your friends. So if you guys are local to SoCal or the Temecula area, we are having a meetup. So if you guys get in the Discord, we'll shoot you an invite for that. You guys can come hang out and meet some of our members that are local out here.
Very nice. Maddie, let's get into I think this is going to be a banger show, and let's start it right here. President Trump, let me get you showing the screen. I do that sometimes, Matt. I don't show you the screen of what we're talking about.
Sorry, test my knowledge base.
President Trump executive order, part of plan to make U.S. crypto capital of the planet. So Trump issued an executive order to establish the U.S. as a global leader in crypto, proposing a working group to create regulatory frameworks for digital assets, yay, explore a national cryptocurrency stockpile, and provide legitimacy and protections for crypto transactions. Maddie, at the top of the year, we discussed the promises by the upcoming Trump administration here. Are these the right first steps for the long-term success for crypto?
Absolutely. Step one, like I said, is creating the working group for regulatory framework. Out of all of this, there's like other exciting pieces in here. To me personally, that is the most long-term bullish narrative, because that's one, putting his money where his mouth is, not just saying, "Hey guys, go do it." Right. This is him creating a council who's going to then work on framework and bills, and then work with other members in Congress to try to get this passed. Right. That is the very first step. So, pat on the back for Trump on that one. Like I said, I'm a skeptical person, but when I see things being done like they're supposed to be done, call it out the way that, call a spade a spade. So love to see that. That's a huge deal to me. And that's really what's going to help, like, from an exchange standpoint, as well as like just having more companies built here in America. Because when you have clear regulation and there's clear rule book for everyone, we're good with that, right? Now, obviously, a couple other things that we talked about in this bill was basically stockpiling U.S.-based assets or just digital assets as a whole, and then anti-CBDC. So again, I as a libertarian, as someone who enjoys freedom, I'm just anti-central bank as a whole. But I have a hard time believing that we're not going to move our current central banking system into one that utilizes digital assets or digital railways. So I don't know if that's net positive long term. Again, that's just kind of like a little bit of a mix of my own personal feelings with that. But obviously, the stockpile is a huge thing, and it's a big deal. One thing that I really want you guys to think about is, like, when we talk about the other reserves that are part of U.S. Treasury, right? Like gold and silver and metals are part of that. Now, they obviously buy those metals and they store those metals, and those take away from supply. But does that excuse metals from going into market cycles like the rest of we've seen in the market? Does it excuse it from ever having sell-offs? No, of course not. It can be good short-term catalyst, but I don't want you guys to get caught up in a narrative like, oh, the government's stockpiling XYZ asset, we have to buy it all, right? Because those that assets will still go in cycles, regardless of what's happening. From a fundamental standpoint, if the economy's in a bad spot, those assets sell off.
Maddie, let's discuss the Trump meme problem. And I fundamentally have a problem with meme coins, as they are speculative and driven on hype, as well as who's going to get caught holding their bag last. So I reject the idea, the premise of meme coins, and Trump launched his own meme coin, not him specific, but it was indirectly launched by him. And the tokenomics are a bit weird. If you're on the watching the live show or in the Discord, like, I think everyone was, there was a kind of a consensus, like, yeah, not gonna buy a meme coin. There's probably some degens out there that wanted to ride the wave. It corrected a lot, Maddie. The Trump meme coin corrected a lot. And this is what happens when things go parabolic. They'll take a pause and then they'll drop. This is just the nature of organic markets, like we've seen, and they look organic. And then you have some weird tokenomics in the background where, like, there was 1 million Trump coins sold on day one of launch. So, like, that's a little bit weird. I don't know how that really happens. But meme coins in itself, the fundamental background of meme coins, I do not buy into because they do not hold utility. And I think this will be a good pretext to our conversation later about meme coins and what that could look like, even as it relates to a strategic crypto reserve. Maddie, what are your overall thoughts? Because I don't think publicly we've gotten to discuss the outlook of a politician having their own meme coin, and not even just any politician. We are not talking about the president of the United States having their own meme coin. If you look on the website, it was very crystal clear about how this wasn't anything serious and you shouldn't take it serious. But obviously, a lot of people got involved with it. We saw a lot of transactions with the Trump meme coin. What are your general thoughts on this Trump meme coin?
Yeah, we chatted about this a little bit, especially with the down of, or the network outage on Solana and the congestion that was being had because of all of the attempted volume with Trump and Melania meme coins that were launched, and of course those were launched just 1 or 2 days ahead of the inauguration day. So a lot of people obviously got very excited, bought pretty heavily into those, and then as the inauguration was happening, we basically kind of just saw those fall off. Kind of the whole market too as a whole just ended up pulling back on inauguration day, and then we also even had the day where Trump signed the executive order that was all like everything we would have pretty much wanted, except for me, maybe minus the anti-CBDC. But beside the point, overall, it was like 85-90% positive, and I'll take that, right? In politics, I'll take an 85% win. But you saw the markets continue to just kind of like be agnostic and kind of just move in the way they were going to move anyway. So I do think it's, overall very odd timing. I think that it creates weird ramifications for this space and a little bit of like an ugly ramification for the space as a whole, because it sets a precedent of like, okay, well, other politicians can maybe launch their own meme coins. And, if they do that, like, are we technically treating these donations? Are you basically saying that you now have an interest in these politicians and you're required to have like some sort of governance vote because you you own these, right? I think there was a better way to go about this, even though Trump has done his own like, NFT collectibles before. If he really wanted to do this from like a standpoint of like, support and adoption, like having individual NFTs that represent like, a very specific, unique value, but each one is different, right? I would have actually felt like that already falls kind of in line with what we consider to be like fair market, right? Because we understand that art is something that we don't consider a security. And just because we have a tokenized, a certificate for that, and a say essentially is what an NFT is for digital art, it would have removed this really weird layer of where like, okay, these tokens don't represent individual value though, right? Like my Trump token is no different than your Trump token. My Millennia token is the same as your Millennia token. There's no differences. So I think it probably would have been better if they just done like a group of like NFTs, and that probably would have still like created the same hype, and people are like, yeah, Trump's doing NFTs again, and like it's right before inauguration, or but he chose to kind of go different routes. So I think we're going to see some very interesting stuff over the next like even year and a half here, just especially with the new SEC regime. All this executive order business in relations to creating the task force. I think overall we have a lot of positive catalysts, but this is one of those things that I really don't like, and I think is tainting the space a little bit. Is these meme coins?
I agree, Maddie. It would have been, it would have been easy just for a strategic crypto reserve. That would have been, the end all be all. Yay, Trump's the crypto president we all wanted. You didn't need to drop your own meme coin, all right? As it relates to crypto holders, Bitcoin maximalists and altcoiners alike, we're not really a big fan of meme coins. You have to be a meme coiner, an adoption of all different types of tokens, and I don't adopt all different types of tokens, and so that would be the difference. I don't, maybe we'll get some clarity of that in the future, but that was just like a weird move in my eyes.
Agreed.
But let's discuss our feature story of today. Last week we saw Jack Mallers release a video calling out Ripple as basically a fraud. They're lobbying the US government, they're lobbying Trump, and you could see where he's coming from with lobbying as it relates to Fairshake, as it relates to Coinbase, Ripple putting up money for lobbying efforts for the US government here, for politicians. But the thing I want to talk about today, Maddie, is I have listened to everyone across the internet. Everyone has given their takes about this debate, this XRP Bitcoin Maxi debate. They kind of take it into a what's a better crypto debate, which I don't very like that at all. I really don't like where they take that. And then there's also another camp of people that I was describing to you before that actually took it a little bit too far and said, this is why I'll never buy Bitcoin. This is why I will never be sold on the idea of Bitcoin, is because of Bitcoin maxis trying to tear altcoiners down. Okay, Bitcoin is a tech, all right? I do not subscribe to the infallible or the perceived infallible word of Michael Saylor or Jack Mallers and what they have to say about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was created in 08, 09. Bitcoin has tech that was not created along with Michael Saylor and Jack Mallers. They are adopters, all right? They are adopters just like we are adopters of XRP and other altcoins, Maddie, okay? So I kind of want to hear your takes. We were talking before the show. It's like, oh, we should probably be recording this. What is your take on all of this? As mine is pretty clear as day. It's like, hey, we are all adopters in this space. We are still so new. To jump the gun and just pick your assets, because guys, guess what? These guys are hodlers of Bitcoin. They're long-term hodlers of Bitcoin. What do they want to see? They want to see a strategic Bitcoin reserve, because they're not hodlers of other cryptos out there, all right? That's clear as day, all right? And if you don't understand that, you're just looking in the wrong places, all right? I don't want to get emotional and be like, oh, the Bitcoin maxis are picking on me. Oh, screw Bitcoin. I am not, because they are not the Bitcoin spokesperson. That's the whole point of Bitcoin, isn't it, Matt? Is that there is no spokesperson of Bitcoin, all right? So, Matty, what's some of your takes of this XRP Bitcoin maxi controversy?
It's honestly sad to see. I think that for most people, if they care about crypto or they're actually passionate or enthusiastic about this space, they want to see pretty much any valuable technology thrive. And they want to see competition in this space, and they want to see a fair playing field. And that's all we have now is a fair playing field. There isn't a preferred treatment for XRP, although there was preferred treatment for Bitcoin and Ethereum, right? That's not even been the case. In fact, we've gone through and had to prove that XRP deserves a fair playing field, and the court has decided that, not the community. So this is, I think that becoming a big reality to maximalists that have believed that they found the one and only asset that's going to be worth $50 million per Bitcoin one day, and they don't have to do anything else. They can just buy Bitcoin forever, and the returns are always going to be the same. I think when we look at the tech to tech standpoint, this is where some people start to get in the weeds. And like, I definitely agree from like a payment standpoint that XRP runs circles around Bitcoin, right? And that's not even just my opinion. You can just look at transactions per second, and that's what's happening, right? So that's just data. But when we talk about decentralization, and this is kind of where the sore spot comes in, I think for a lot of people in the DLT space, is one, they try to have a competition of who's the most decentralized. And over time, you're going to see more and more centralization of every asset, including Bitcoin. When you look at the number of companies that control the main hash rate for Bitcoin right now, or centralization of mining. Last year, it was 24% of all Bitcoin mining was done by 12 companies. So 12 companies control 24% of the hash rate. Do you guys want to know what it is now? 30%. So only 12 companies, and a lot of them you guys know out there, Hut 8 and Riot and a variety of others, own 30% of all of the mining that happens on the Bitcoin network. So based on that trend, what are we seeing? A centralization of control in Bitcoin, right? We can't ever come to the idea of like, oh, everyone's going to run this, ASIC miner out of their house, and every person's going to, contribute to the Bitcoin network, and we'll never have the fear of centralization. But if you even have, let's say it becomes 20 companies that own 55% of the centralization of Bitcoin, of the mining of Bitcoin, you don't really have a decentralized asset anymore. I think the other part that people look at is they think, okay, well, we can point to the founders of, or the co-creators of XRP and go, okay, it's David Schwartz and Arthur Brito and Jen McCaleb. We've got faces, and they gave these token allocations to Ripple. So this makes it highly centralized, right? But when Satoshi, who, if that's even his real name, right, because he's anonymous, he still gave himself an allocation, right? We know that there's a Genesis Bitcoin wallet that has a hefty amount of Bitcoin in it. Now it hasn't moved, but that doesn't change anything. And somehow the anonymous factor negates the centralization of the fact that one person still did the same thing that we've seen in a variety of other projects, whether it's HBAR, XRP, Zcash, giving teams, giving corporations, giving entities stockpiles to be able to grow their business, to be able to experiment with all those things. So, at the end of the day, I still hope Bitcoin continues to do well, right? Like, I'm not anti-Bitcoin price. I'm not anti-Bitcoin tech. I'm also just a realist, and I'm a very passionate person when it comes to technology. And I understand the ramifications on both sides of like being hyper-focused on decentralization, but at the cost of like speed and efficiency, or some centralization and much higher throughput and higher use cases and potentially a higher level of adoptability, right? If your goal, again, with this whole conversation is to get Bitcoin adopted by the government stockpile because they think it's so valuable, we got to start scaling Bitcoin, right? Like, you have to start getting that competitive edge, because other digital assets that run laps around in relations to value are going to become more valuable over time, right? Like, at least a value of transaction. So, that's, I guess, my kind of just like compressed thoughts on it. I want everyone to win in this space. I'm technology agnostic, I suppose you could say. But I think a lot of the Bitcoin maxi behavior right now is absolutely despicable, and I hate to see it. Like, stop turning on each other, guys. Like, we are already in a spot where we are fighting a fragile uphill battle, and we can't afford to be divided, right? Like, we need to make sure that all this regulation comes through is fair, and it gives us all the tools that we need to have a continued growth in this space. And we don't need to spend time fighting each other on the internet. So, like, let's just stop.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know where to take it from here, Maddie, because I think you laid a good fundamental basis from there as it relates to Bitcoin, as it relates to XRP. I will just say this on top of what you said, because I definitely wanted to get into what you just said, and you laid out a clear picture of that, so there's no reason to dive into the weeds of that. But there is this idea of this perceived simplicity with Bitcoin. All right, you notice this, Matt, where Bitcoin is simple, it's immutable. There's a 21 million Bitcoin that could ever be created. And this is very simple to Bitcoin maxis. The proof of work model is simple to them. And anything that is everything outside of crypto, everything that does not do that is foreign to them. So Bitcoin offers something very simple to them, all right? And like you were discussing with the three founders, the three creators of the XRP ledger, gifting an exuberant amount of XRP tokens to was then known OpenCoin, now known as Ripple Labs. That is scary to people. It's pre-mined. People can't understand this. I understand it because I'm just an investor here, and I have predicted the forecast of XRP price. We have sat here, we've talked about XRP until we're blue in the face, and I think November, December of last year, and even up until now, proves that we were right from an investor standpoint. The thing is that people have different things they want to accomplish, right? If my goal here, which it is, was to accomplish great returns on my investment dollars, I have accomplished that if I sold out today, right? Now, obviously, I'm going to see all the way through. I'm going to sell at my price targets. But even the 4X I've seen on my crypto portfolio, I have done my job. But Also, too, Michael Saylor is also doing his job with the investment of Bitcoin for MicroStrategy, right? But we have two different philosophies, yet we're both winning, right? So if I would have invested all of that in Bitcoin, would I have won? Well, I wouldn't have as many gains because primarily my portfolio is in XRP. What performed better, Maddie? XRP did. So that's the point I'm trying to get across right here, team, is that people have different things they're trying to accomplish, and they're going to look at different tech for those use cases, all right? This is why I'm not as harsh as some of the other creators about Bitcoin, all right? I get it. If you're in Lebanon, if you're in Zimbabwe, if you're in one of these South American countries, all right? I get it. You're getting fiat debased, all right? I would buy Bitcoin too. I get it. I absolutely get it, all right? And so that's why I can't stand the arguments against Bitcoin, but I also can't stand the arguments against XRP. Okay, this is tech and we are all adopters of it. None of us really have a hand in it. Ripple does not have a hand in it. The XRPL is not centralized, it is decentralized. Okay, and yes, they are holding an exuberant amount of XRP right now, right? That is released out of escrow, a portion of it, a tiny percentage on the first of every month. Okay, but the purpose is that you should be asking yourself is, does Ripple have an incentive to sell that XRP? And the answer is no, okay? If you saw a 51% attack on the Bitcoin network, on Bitcoin mining, all right? The argument is, for that argument, is that, okay, if one was to take over 51% of the network, okay, then they could have fraudulent transactions, all right? And they could control the network, and then Bitcoin would be worthless. And then all long-term and short-term holders would sell their Bitcoin, all right? But they're not going to do that because, number one, that would take billions of dollars to execute. And number two, they would lose out all that money. It would only be for the effect of taking down the Bitcoin network, burning a bunch of money, all right? So it would not be lucrative for any person to attempt that. And that's kind of the same argument for XRP is. What incentive would Ripple have for selling all of their XRP? Because the company is based off of not the success of XRP, but they utilize the XRP ledger, right? That's their whole deal, Matt. That's the whole point of Ripple is for the XRP ledger and utilizing that network and utilizing that blockchain, and utilizing those tokens and creating stablecoins like RLUSD to run on networks like the XRP ledger for financial institutions and for cross-border payments. I know I'm going on a tangent right now, but I'm just getting amped here, all right? I'm just getting amped. But the point being here is, like, you can make those same arguments for the 51% attack that could happen on Bitcoin, but it's not going to because no one's incentivized to do it. The same as Ripple's not incentivized to just kill the XRP token. That's not incentivizing for them, all right? And so this is where we get into, like, you know, this is very weird because it's like, guys, we're all adopters of tech, all right? You are just trying to tell me, Bitcoin maxis, that your tech is better than mine, and I'm trying to tell you that my tech is different than yours. Stop comparing me, okay? So I think that should be more of the approach with this Bitcoin maximalism arguments that, you know, some altcoiners are getting frustrated with. That should be the argument. Don't attack me. I'm not attacking you, all right? The attorneys that fought on behalf of Ripple defended Ripple. I know there's like first and second causes here, but they defended the institutional sales of XRP. XRP is not a security. This generally helps the crypto market, okay? There are things in this that help you, but help us out a bit. Take a little bit easy on us, Maddie. I think that's a fair argument. I think some wrapping thoughts here. What's your final analysis and your final thoughts to Bitcoin maxis?
You know, tribalism doesn't help us progress at all, guys, and that includes XRP maxis too. If you are truly an XRP maxi, I'm not saying you're just highly passionate, or if it's your only holding, that's one thing. But if you believe that XRP is the holy grail and the one all be all crypto that's going to be the use for all payments everywhere, and there's no room for any other solutions, you're also unfortunately part of the problem, because it just means you haven't done your research. You also just don't understand the need out there for a variety of different types of crypto that, you know, facilitate different needs, right? We have oracles and smart contract plays. There's a lot of different needs out there when it comes to crypto, and they apply to both industries that have not really even, let's say, been created yet, right? Because we haven't seen the full evolution of crypto yet, but we're also have so many verticals that we're not privy to in industries that we don't work in, right? Like I could probably point to somebody who works in like aerospace engineering, for example, and they could tell me all these problems that I'm not aware of, and I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a crypto for that. Oh, there's a railway for that you could use that would make this process more efficient. But we can't be aware of every issue that's out there, right? So like it's very close-minded to be like, I found the one and only thing that's going to make the world better and make things more efficient. Stay open-minded, guys, because opportunity only comes to those that are open-minded.
I love that, Maddie and team. like I said, I just had this written down here. I wrote out this little paragraph and I loved it so much. I was writing this out yesterday. There are no infallible investors or spokesmen for either side of the argument. There is no final authority. There is no special revelation that needs to be dug out of the corners of the crypto holes of Reddit and Twitter. There are no absolute investments here. We're all adopters of technology. I wrote somewhere in here, it was like the tech of tomorrow could change and we could all get on that train and we all can sing kumbaya. We'd be happy with that. It captures the hearts and minds of us because new tech is coming out all the time. All right, these are the same arguments that you guys like to employ on us. It's like, oh, there's new tech, there's bull run. Let's get into that tech. All right, and so team, everyone is trying to make a buck in this industry. Everyone has their own prerogatives. All right, my prerogative is to make money. So if you're listening to us, we talk strategically about investing into crypto, and you should understand that by now. As it relates to the strategic Bitcoin or crypto reserve, Maddie, and kind of bringing it back to the meme coin conversation of earlier, I honestly would be okay with a strategic Bitcoin reserve because there are secondary effects for XRP here. Okay, XRP will benefit from a strategic Bitcoin reserve. Probably not as much as a strategic crypto reserve with XRP incorporated, with purchasing being done. But the nature of the crypto market is during these periods, during altcoin season, when money is exiting Bitcoin, where's it going to? It's going to XRP. In that frothy period, money is entering the crypto market, it's going to hit XRP. Okay. So there are secondary and third effects here. So I'm honestly indifferent, Maddie. I'm honestly indifferent. And I haven't heard a take from anyone like that. I was like, hey guys, like, it's just your crypto. Like, this isn't the end all be all here. Like, okay, I get it. It makes sense. Like, the government, we're struggling from fiat debasement around the world. We got the US dollar here, and you want to see your government buy Bitcoin, which you hold dear to your heart here. But they also have prerogatives as well. That's why in the future, even after Trump, they will look at CBDCs. They will, because guess what? The whole rest of the world is looking at it right now. They're doing pilot testing, okay?
Yeah.
And so just be realistic here, team. I don't think we were unrealistic in this show. I'm more worried about, Maddie, as it relates, finally capping off this strategic conversation as it relates to Bitcoin reserve or crypto reserve. I'm more frightful of the idea of jumping 10 toes into it. I like the idea of spot Bitcoin ETFs. Okay, spot Ethereum ETFs. We're kind of rolling it out. I would be okay with a spot Bitcoin reserve to starting with purchases with Bitcoin. And then down the road, if it makes sense, it makes sense. But it's not the end all be all for me. What do you think?
Yeah, not the end all be all, guys. There's like we mentioned, lots of positives, lots of good secondary effects. There's also risks that come with it, right? When you have governments that hold eventually, right? Let's say they stockpile for years, hold a good portion of the supply. That also means they control potentially big impacts on the market, right? If not that they would dump it all at once, but they don't need your permission to manage the strategic reserve, right? And sometimes managing means selling or borrowing or creating leverage or a variety of things, right? Maybe the government gets into Bitcoin mining. Oh wow, Bitcoin miners, at the government facility, all 5,000 of them go down, and now we have a short-term impact on the market, and they're able to manipulate things. So I see both sides of it, guys. I just don't think that we need to fight each other over, who does or does not to be deserved to be in there. Good quality tech, I'd like to see it in there, and that's it.
Yeah. In my eyes, Bitcoin being chosen for a Bitcoin strategic reserve would be a first among equals. It does not make Bitcoin the best. And it certainly doesn't end right there with the federal government buying, hopefully, large amounts of Bitcoin. But it would be the start of something greater, all right? And of course, again, I just want to say this again. Your XRP would fly through the roof in the bull run. Maybe not, the short-term effects, not as helpful. The long-term effects is definitely helpful. If we're seeing large purchasing, if the government just started buying, a million here, 2 million here, not really affecting this bull run, right? It's more of a long-term perspective of what that means, secondary from other nations that are also potentially buying Bitcoin. Or what will it mean if the government starts buying Bitcoin for a strategic Bitcoin reserve, all right? And then maybe down the road, like, oh, we also want to get other assets involved in here, other US-based cryptos, which I think is going to, cause some confusion. Just look at, we had the HBAR counselor and or the man on the HBAR Foundation Council, and he was running for SEC. He was in Congress defending blockchain, and they still didn't get it until, I guess, last year. Really, last year is like where politicians were like, okay, Bitcoin, blockchain, oh, it makes sense now. They're telling me, all my donors are telling me it makes sense. We should probably buy Bitcoin. So, team, it's a weird time here. I'm really indifferent to it. I'm winning either way. If there is a Bitcoin strategic reserve, I win. If there's a Bitcoin strategic crypto reserve, I win. You win in either scenario here. Some areas more than others, but I think that's pretty fair, right, Matt?
Yep, I would say it's perfectly fair.
Team, I think this was a great show. I think we ran it a little bit longer today. So if you got something valuable here, make sure you leave a like. If you have any questions for the Ask Maddie show, 2:30 p.m. Pacific this Wednesday, leave it in the comment section down below. And if it's good, it will be brought up. Team, do not get caught all in the sauce here. Do not let your emotions trick you. Be honest about yourself. Look at the lucrative opportunities on the table and invest accordingly. Team, that is all we have for today. We will see you guys Wednesday. Bye.